leaned on those champions at that point. But that's how I kind of made progress, like in my work, plus like trying to balance that I cannot do that crazy whatever hours, like you wake up, the first thing you do is check your email. I actually stopped doing that very explicitly.
A lot of the people not knowing what they're entering in, I think it's a challenge. Like I think awareness, education, all of that helps. At least know what's going to sort of in queue. That would help, right? You're going to kind of say, hey, yeah, I'm going to have the baby, and the next few months later they're going to sleep, and I'm going to get back to work. It's never the same, right?
What is the role of your partner to keep your drive still going? And I'm going to close my ears.
But this sounds like a very personal question.
But
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Our Tech Chronicles. This is episode number 39. Today's episode is a special one. It's dedicated to all the working moms out there. Whether you are juggling meetings and meals or coding and carpooling, this one is for you. Today's topic is working moms in tech. To dig into this topic, we are joined by Marian Rupasinghe. Say hi, Marian.
Hi, everyone.
And Chandni Jain. Hey, Chandni.
Hey, everybody.
Both are incredible women who wears many hats, including our celebrated topic here, being a tech mom. Marian is a versatile leader and an entrepreneur with over 25 years of success in driving innovation in product development and building startups. She specializes in insurtech and climate tech. Above all, she's a mom of two amazing kids, and she's passionate about balancing purpose with passion. And then we have Chandni Jain. She's a seasoned technology leader with deep software engineering expertise and leadership, who has played transformative roles with big tech like Salesforce, Lyft, to startups. Chandni is a mom of two amazing kids as well. Another fun fact about Chandni, she's also the better half of our friend and fellow podcaster Roshan Paya. Right? So I'm sure at home you have podcast kind of debates every moment.
We do. Yep, we do. I get to have a preview of all your podcasts.
Cool. So with that, I think we can get started.
actually, before we get started, I want to ask you both a fun question, fun fact. Do you know where we got this topic from? Who gave us this topic? You do?
I got it. Yes. I heard about it.
Okay.
I think it's from your daughter, right?
Yes, it is from my 9-year-old daughter. So, fun story. Asanka and I were on a train from Connecticut to New York, and we were, brainstorming podcast topics, whatnot, right? And my daughter, Ria, happened to walk by and said, "Oh, I have ideas for you." And she gave us this topic, and we were like, "What? Where did this come from?" So I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that we're doing this today. So that's awesome.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
She's
So-
very excited.
Yeah. And that girl, I'm telling you, is a future CEO. I'm telling you. Cool. All right. So let's get started, guys. So let's kind of focus on your career first. Especially being a tech mom, and especially because you have to have kids and you have to go through post maternity. How do you kind of stay relevant, visible in your role, and especially still be successful?
Marian, do you want to take a first stab at it?
Sure. Also, yeah, absolutely. So for me, I had my kids when I was in my early 30s. So I had about a good 8 years of career, and like traditionally you would say, hey, 10,000 hours of experience of building whatever your skills, right? And being consulting, working on those like the top priority, urgent, important, like bucket, and being exposed to a lot of stuff. So that is my early career. Didn't have kids. So you work on global consulting companies, Roshan, Hasank, you also probably know, right? You work on both ends of the clock. But from there, you go into sort of, being a mom and have your first child in the US without any kind of support structure around you, right? So that essentially, to a large extent, nothing prepares you for that one. You're not even ready to even fathom and plan, oh, this is what's going to be my new normal, right? So that is the transition from one end to the other end was was huge, right? So, and do you get like automatically ready for that? No, right? Does it take time? Absolutely. And do you even focus on being relevant on the post maternity? I don't think so. I mean, to a large extent, you're in the survival mode of, hey, getting through the day, getting enough sleep, and making sure all of the stuff are done. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, you're kind of, going back to work, right? 3 months is so small time, not even 3 months actually. Like 12 weeks later, you're going back to work. And at that point, if you don't have a good support structure behind you, it's not necessarily gonna at least for me it didn't necessarily sort of scale. I went back to work. I tried, and I kind of was trying to do the early morning calls and the late night and have the same more of the pace. So then almost 3 to 4 months later, I realized it's not necessarily something that I can sustain on both ends and have my work life and being a new mom at the same time and run it at the same pace. So after about 4 months, I decided to take about 6 months off and then sort of say, hey, let me understand my new normal, let me get stabilized on my new normal, and then get back to what I want to do, right? How I want to make a difference and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think I had a little bit of a similar story. So I was at Salesforce when we had our first kid, and but I'd been in the company for quite a few years, and I'd already built a reputation. So I think that's kind of what helped me because I'd really put in the effort before. I had like a lot of champions at work. I think that's one thing that really supported me. So when my son was born, and when our son was born, and I actually made a conscious choice. I am not going to work those crazy hours anymore because that was just not possible. Because a lot of times, like I realized I was being on a call when like I'm trying to put him to bed or something, and that's just not practically possible. I was not paying attention to him, or I was not paying attention to work. So I consciously made a choice to like shift my role and actually strategically much better place for myself for my career because I leaned on those champions at that point. But that's how I kind of made progress, like in my work, plus like trying to balance that. I cannot do that crazy whatever hours, like you wake up, the first thing you do is check your email. I actually stopped doing that very explicitly. I do not check my emails as the first thing. Probably I don't even check my emails even now till like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock when I actually get on my computer. Because morning time is just like time with the kids. So that was just a very conscious shift that happened. But I think the biggest thing that helped me is building those champions at work, who support you and who understand that work-life balance.
A question along those lines, right? So, looking back, are there things companies can do better to support women returning to work post maternity?
it's a great question. So I think companies also exist to make a profit, make an impact, and also so they're also to a large extent they're also going at a certain pace with a certain amount of efficiency in it, right? So I understand the challenge of making a ton of accommodations, but having said that, but a lot of the people not knowing what they're entering in, I think it's a challenge. Like, I think awareness, education, all of that helps. I think as a tech mom, hey, this is, and even to sort of structure your life, structure yourself, at least know what's going to sort of hit you. That would help, right? You're going to kind of say, hey, yeah, I'm going to have the baby, and the next few months later they're going to sleep and I'm going to get back to work. It's never the same,
It's
right?
not going to happen. um, and I think it's not only just once they're babies. It's like even now, like it doesn't stop. It is always something with every phase. Once you have kids, like things shift. So I think it's really not just the postpartum kind of phase. It's just a lifelong commitment. So, and I think it's the biggest thing I think the company could do is build that like environment or that culture where that work-life balance is respected and kind of valued. That's kind of the most important thing. Where the importance should be like I get my work done. It's not really about like I get it done at like 10 o'clock in the night or I do it at 5 a.m. in the morning, but I can figure out my work hours and I don't miss any deadline or any important meeting, I'm there for the right things and I'm getting the right things done. So versus just being 9 to 5, clock in and clock out kind of situation. So I think that's the most important thing. And I truly have to say, I've been very lucky with all the companies that I've worked at. It's like they've been flexible in that sense and been really very supportive of like working moms or working parents. Like,
Yeah. I definitely want to echo that one, Chandni, simply because the fact that you have sort of, build trust and you have a trusted group of people and they just know, hey, give it to them and they get it done, and not necessarily sort of, it has to happen at 10 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the evening, right? Or between a certain window. It just happens. Like as long as the goals are achieved and you have built trust in the company sort of, to drive a certain body of work, it basically sort of has that more of a trust relationship there.
Yeah, I like what you both have said. I especially like what you said, Marian, about the training aspect, the education aspect. We don't talk about that a lot. We have training for security, privacy, all this stuff, but nothing really, to my knowledge, prepares women on what it's going to be like post maternity, right? And set that like have that education. I think that's very important. That's an amazing suggestion. So thank you for that.
Do you have any advice for someone like who's thinking about having maybe their first child, right? And also having a good career at the moment. Like you have to make that mindset shift. Like, okay, is it the right time? Like, I'm in the peak of my career, or maybe like you're feeling like, hey, if I have a child now, I might have a break in my career. Like I'm sure people are going through these emotions. Like any advice for our listeners?
I think I can start with there's never really the right time. It's when you're kind of ready and it happens. And I can literally tell you a story about our second kid. Rashawn can vouch for this. We were initially, my thought was like, no, I got to focus on my career because I had a new boss. So I had to build that trust with my boss. And I was like, okay, we're not ready to have a second kid. Review cycle came around and I felt like, okay, it was in a good place. He was really good. I'm like, okay, we can think about a second kid. And literally like right around the time when we found out that hey, we were expecting a second kid is where I got promoted to like a different director level position. So it was like crazy job that got handed to me. It was like almost two things together. So I feel like it's never, you just have to know when you're ready and you'll figure it out from there. The second advice, I think I would say, concept of balance, the word balance, you have to figure out what that means for you. And everybody has their different priorities and different meaning of balance. It could literally mean like maybe for a few years your work takes a back seat, and where like you might be in a stable place, maybe not progressing up, or maybe that means like you have a lot of support system to support your kids and support your family, so you can still keep progressing in work. Or it might be even just as simple as like, hey, maybe you're not that mom who's gonna provide like home baked goodies to every single bake sale, and you just buy something from the store. So those are the two advice I would give.
Amazing. True. So I totally agree. There's never never a perfect time, and it's not something that you can time perfectly to based on your preferences or this ideal situation anyway. But with not with Shana, not with my first child, with my second child, so I purposefully wanted to move away from consulting. So I wanted to sort of, move away from staying in this like urgent now bucket all the time to more of enterprise and sort of, get into like a strategy analytics, which are more in the not urgent, important bucket kind of work, right? So that I want to sort of, have a little bit of control in terms of my time, my schedule, and how I drive my time, as opposed to everybody else around me driving my time, right? And so I made that shift, and with after that shift I'm like, yes, I'm ready for number two with that. And so that worked out, and then I consistently stayed in more enterprise until more recently, when they're of course older, move back into consulting again.
I like that you were intentional about that, right? That set you up. That's really cool. So along those lines is, I know both of you ladies are super ambitious and motivated, right? How what is it like when the workday ends? How do you switch off from work? Are there boundaries you learn to protect uh, to make this balance happen?
So I make boundaries on physical engagement part of it, right? So there are certain times I would not pick up the phone, would not get on calls, physical aspect of it, right? And I don't know about you, Chandni, but sometimes if there's something bothering in your head or
Mhm.
something you're thinking about, you can't shut it off to a large extent.
Yeah.
You could be
Yeah.
driving home, you're thinking about it. You could be making
Yeah.
pasta, you'd be thinking about it, right? And so there's like, I haven't found myself to completely shut off until I can sort of, occupy myself for something else, right? When that, so sometimes just as a purposeful shut off, it is to sort of, have something else. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to the gym, I'm outside, I'm doing something else. Now it's a
Yeah.
purposeful shut off, right? Or you sign up, I purposefully sign up for art classes or pottery classes because I really want to sort of, shut off from something else, right?
Yeah.
And so physical boundaries, like, yeah, yes, I'm not checking my emails. I don't actually sort of, schedule calls and get on calls in certain times. But yeah, so you have to be very intentional. At least for me, I had to be very
Yeah.
intentional for mental shut off.
I 100% agree with Marian about this because, like, for me, like, I have a block on my calendar. Like, 3 o'clock, generally, we have after school kids' activities. My calendar is blocked off at 3 o'clock to not schedule. And if there's something really, really urgent, people need to schedule, they'll reach out to me and they'll talk to me about it versus just by default there being a meeting. I wouldn't say there's always the case that there's nothing happening at that time. And there's been times when I'm actually sitting at my kids' practice and I'm taking a call there, and that's totally okay. But it's not as regular scheduled stuff in there. So that way I just block off the time. I might use that time to catch up on emails or something from like just like work kind of thing, but at least it's not a meeting or it's not a phone call or something that I'm doing at that time. And that kind of just lets me be also present with the kids, especially like our kids are younger, so just they have a lot to share or like talk when they come back from school still. So this just allows us to be present there. So that's kind of almost like 3 o'clock, like my calendar switches off, and then I'm very rarely I'll be getting back online and checking things on. Like I might check on my phone, Slack and things if there's something, if unless there's a fire going on at work, I'm not going to get back online till things can build to the next day. So kind of almost made that mental physical boundary, if you want to say it.
So along those
Wow.
lines, right? What is the role of your partner to keep your drive still going? And I'm going to close my ears.
Oh, this sounds like a very personal question.
But
I
you
can
mentioned
I can
support
start.
system, right? You mentioned support system. So for all the partners out there, like what should they do to keep your drive still going, your ambition, your motivation still firing? Because you're actually doing two jobs. You're working and you're also taking care of
Yeah.
everyone. So
I think it is a tag team, really. It is totally a tag team, really. I'll be honest, like there's so many times where I'll be like, Roshan, I really cannot skip this meeting, but the kids have this practice that they have to go to. So can you take them? Okay. And if like there is also a times where basically we cannot, like both of us have something really critical and urgent. And I think that's where your community comes in, where you have built like, it could be literally one of the other school moms or somebody else, or maybe if you have grandparents or some family around you, or maybe something else that you lean on. But going back to the partners, I think it's totally a tag team. It's never really just like, it's impossible like to kind of function just by yourself. Like last night, I had a crazy headache, and I told Roshan, I was like, I'm so sorry, I really have a headache. I gotta go to bed. You got the kids, and I know he was working, but he's like, okay, I got the kids, and he took care of things, and just we go from there. And that literally happens all the time, and that's how we have to function.
100%, right? So I do have a story pre-COVID versus post-COVID in this case, right? Because Harsh was actually in consulting. So and pre-COVID, the lifestyle was you're at the client site Monday to Thursday, right? So that's the life, right? So he fly out on Sunday night or Monday early morning. He's back on Thursday night, majority of the time. And at that point, I had two kids, and both of them are relatively young, right? So it's like, this is from like more daycare time to even preschool time with afternoon activities and all of that, right? So that is extremely challenging. So like, you prep, like he will do the cooking, put stuff in the fridge, that's a whole kind of an aspect of the work is done. But it's the morning routine, evening routine, dinner time, meal time, nap time, bath time, sleep, look, all of it, right? Essentially going to fall on you. And then you're really hoping nobody's falling sick, because especially in the daycare time, like it's an incubator of viruses, and one person comes with it and just goes on. So and then post COVID was a completely different setup, because I predominantly work from home, and then Harsh predominantly work from home, and it was a lot easier for us to sort of drop and pick. So pre-COVID, I ended up having two different after school babysitters nannies, right? Because sometimes even the babysitters nannies are unreliable because they get sick, they're not able to come. So I did, just to risk mitigate, I had one person doing 3 days and another person doing 2 days, and then I always pick up. They go and drop them at swimming or something or the other. I pick up because I enjoy the drive back home with the pickup. But if your partner is not like tag teaming with you, especially morning or evening routines, then you need to sort of build that second layer infrastructure, or that second village, as you would sort of say, like through the friends, the family, friends, moms, and all kinds of things.
Amazing.
I think that's what it is. You have to find that community, and that's the balance, really. It's not just like you balancing on your own.
So outside the people, like part of this is like, all of us, I think, are first generation in the US, right? So kind of trying to figure out how to operate here while doing all of the above that you spoke about. So outside people, community, and help, like, are there any tricks or tools of the trade that keep you really organized?
So I have a one calendar, so like things, biggest thing is you forget what's going on with the school events, birthday parties, games, what needs to be washed, like uniforms to be washed before a certain game starts. Like there's so much going on in a given week, you forget, right? And just having one calendar that kind of put everything, like I used to use my work calendar. I basically sort of have that little lock on, or the personal flag on, and I pretty much have everything. Even today I have the thing of like I have to register Nathan for swimming, for winter swimming team, right? So like all of that. So that is, for me personally, that is one of the big tools that helps. And
I 100% agree, Marian. That's literally what keeps me sane. And I think my saying, if it's not on the calendar, it's gone. It's not happening. It's not in my mind. Because if it's not on the calendar, it's gone. You can forget about it. That's literally all I use as well.
because we tried so many different things, because they used to get like sheets of paper from school and a pin board and all kinds of stuff, like it's just nothing sticks like the calendar, because we operate off of the calendar. We literally
Yes.
operate off of calendar.
Yes.
So we are driven by it and might as well use the same tool.
Exactly.
Hopefully in the near future, there will be an AI assistant to do some of this work for you, right? Who knows?
Actually, on that,
I think
yeah, do you use AI to simplify family life, work life, stuff like that?
So can I go?
yes, please.
So not necessarily, I don't think AI, but I use technology. Like I don't think I've gone into a shop to buy any kind of a gift, any kind of like from kitchen towel to toilet paper to toothpaste. I don't think I've done any of that shopping. So all of that get delivered on a subscription basis, right? So two dogs, the food, like so like anything that you can predict and do, it's like taken off your list. Of course, I go shopping, and like I like just looking at the latest produce, or whatever the producing season, and sort of buying, doing the groceries per se, and depending on what you want to eat and what's in season. But outside of that one, I don't necessarily do anything. Does AI help? AI help on like getting through email boxes and stuff like that, right? So it's like, I think that is huge. What is there on is from school? What are the top things that I need to work on today? So for those, definitely AI part helps. So this is my 2 cents on the AI tools.
I agree. Like I personally don't use anything at the moment right now from an AI perspective, but this is like one of the tools that me and like a couple of school moms were joking about is like we need like just a AI agent to translate all the emails that we get from the principal just to translate into a calendar for to-dos, basically. But like again, going back to every single mom was like translated in the calendar, and that's how we'll know what's happening. And that's how we'll keep track of things.
So right now you
And
are
there's a
the
market
AI.
for
You're
that.
doing all the translations.
The one
Yep.
tool that I really wish they had was, especially if sometimes when you get those sign up genies, I absolutely want to go and sign up for just the utensils and the paper cups and paper plates, and not for the banana bread.
But hey,
So
this is where you make the balance. You can actually get the banana bread from like store. Like you don't really have to make it. Like, if you like, not everybody is going to be a great baker, and not everybody is going to have the time to do it as well. There's some things which like, okay, I definitely enjoy doing it for my kids, so I would do it, regardless of if I have to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'll do it. But there's other times where I'm like, it's totally okay for you to get store bought snacks or something.
How about maybe we switch the topics a little bit and start talking about the mind and the well-being, right? Because over above everything, I think it's important that you have a, healthy life, good mindset. How do you balance the two? I mean, not two. I mean, it's like multiple things, right? Now you just spoke about like so many different things. Like, how do you balance all this?
big question, right? Because I think you need to feel good about yourself, because at the end of the day, you're raising kids, right? You're raising kids for the future. You want to spend time, you want to sort of, instill values, you want to instill character in them and all of that, right? So it's a big job on its own, right? And that and at the same time, you want to sort of, make sure that your well-being is taken care of, right? So for me, like I don't necessarily kind of call it work life per se, work life balance. I never hardly use that word, because for me it's basically, how do you have a holistic balance, like a mind body spirit, mind body soul kind of thing, right? So that's why I kind of say, hey, do I have things that are challenging for me, for my mind, that I can sort of, add value, or that I feel like, yes, I'm challenged. And at the same time, like, how can I have something that is physically challenging? Like, it could be going to the gym, going for a hike, whatever that is, right? Whatever that is like physically challenging. And at the same time, whatever that you enjoy that is outside of both of them. And that's why I purposefully go and sign up for pottery classes or painting classes, or drumming, and like you do different things just on the outside that you like, and that's for you most of the time, right? And do I do all of those things every day? Probably not, right? But in a span of week, I've kind of touched on all of that, right? So I've carved out time for all of those things in a span of week, right? And I strongly think that makes you happy, and you feel balanced, and you show up better for your family members, right? You show up better for yourself as well as for the others. So 2 cents, and I think it took a while. Obviously, it didn't happen on day one. So when Shane and Nathan was somewhere around maybe 9, like Nathan was probably would have been a 5 or 6. He's actually, no, sorry, 6, because he's entering the first grade. That's the time I kind of say, hey, I went on from that like a swirling chaos to, hey, how do I kind of organize myself and say what's important for me, and then basically so that I show up better for everyone else.
Yeah.
It's like the oxygen mask principle, right? If you can't lead a parent if you are running on empty, so you need to find ways to recharge yourself. So
Yeah.
really like what you said there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think, and it's funny because I think the shift of like what you mentioned at like when Nathan was 6 years old is when you kind of shifted that to like I can start focusing on myself. I think that same shift happened for me as well, and that was kind of the same shift where it was like, okay, even work wise, like, hey, I want to like take back my career, start working back on my career at this like around that same age, but I want to start investing in myself, kind of around when our daughter was around like maybe 5 or 6. So it's interesting that happened at that time. Uh, And for me personally, like all the other stuff, like just like doing workouts, taking time for myself, and just doing any classes outside or just activities outside, those are definitely really fulfilling and just like gives you a break from just the daily routine. But I'll be honest, even being a tech person, I wouldn't call myself a tech mom at that point. That is very important. I always say if I'm just sitting at my home, I am going to drive everybody crazy because going to work, I actually get to use the intellectual part of my brain. So it just like I'm not coding on a daily basis, but I actually get to kind of spar with architects and like talk to them and discuss about like pros and cons and talk about the new AI tools or learn about different technologies that are coming up or like, hey, how are we going to prevent what's going on wrong with this production server? Just like, it's a completely different conversation than what I would have at home. So I think it's a very different and I feel like that almost feeds my brain too, so it just keeps me challenged and I'm almost like learning from those people all the time too. So that feeds my brain part of the conversation. Yeah.
100%, 100%, yes. Because otherwise we will not be having this conversation if we were stay at home mom and we were feeling very fulfilled in that space, right?
Yeah.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe switching gears to going back to work now, right? So and you're always making trade-offs, like you said, as the kids in the initial years, maybe your trade-off is focus on your family, right? But make sure work is status quo. But then there comes a time when the kids are a little older. Now you start investing in yourself and you want to like accelerate your career again. Are there,
Mhm.
but you still have the family at home. They're not going anywhere. So are there techniques or things that you've done to still be able to like what do they say? Break that ceiling, the glass ceiling, and punch above while maintaining status quo at home as well from the work side of things. Yeah.
So one thing like so the first 6 years is almost a training for the kids, right? Because it's like it's everyone's in that training so that at some point they're going to sort of go in different directions to a certain level, right? And like me having Shane is like 20 and Nathan is 16, right? So been through that journey and looking at such a small window where they really really need us, and then they become small independent humans, and then all of a sudden they're going to sort of flourish on their own as well, right? And so in that early part the kids do have chores. So it's like I look at my household work, it's not only my work, it's everybody's work. So since they were able to do even the littlest things, could be just unloading the dishwasher, could be just unloading the utilities, it could be the littlest thing, they own the work, right? So they are responsible for that, right? And so when it got to a particular place, especially during the COVID time, the kids are able to sort of make a meal for themselves. I'm on calls, when this thing, they can make breakfast and lunch, right? So they are somewhat independent, and now that put me in a place where I say, yes, my family is self-sufficient on their basic needs side. Of course, they need sort of, emotional support and being there to sort of, talk. That continues. But that physical need of me having to sort of, cook, clean, wash, iron, that needs have gone away, right? Because now everybody has sort of, taken their, so that is, so I think that's something that we started like a lot earlier on, when they're like very young. But now of course they're a lot older, but they can sort of cook for themselves, probably now do groceries and come back and cook as well, which puts us at a much different place.
Now you want to cook for them, but they won't come home, right? So
That's a different problem.
And I guess that frees you up now to do more at work, right?
That's
And like
exactly.
really focus. Yeah. Okay. That's really good.
Yeah, I think I agree with Marian about that. I think we're kind of in that mode of transitioning into them owning a lot more chores and things, but even things like what freed up as like the bath time, for example, or the bedtime or something like that. Like I don't even know how that transition happened, but somehow it happened. Like to a degree, like we pushed them to a degree. I think they were kind of old enough to do this. Like they can take their own showers on their own. I'm not sitting there helping them with the shower, or just like even the bedtime. It's like we hug goodnights and like say goodnight, and then but they just go to bed on their own. I'm not sitting there kind of waiting for them to go to bed or lying in bed with them. So I think that just takes, because that used to take, like when they were little kids, it was like just take like 2 hours of that whole bath bedtime routine kind of thing. And then they grew older, like to be able to read their own books, like, so this like little things that started shifting. And now, like, I exactly like Marian is saying, it's like we're trying to shift more into like them helping out just with just daily chores, like could be just basic stuff around the house, or even putting their own laundry away, or just folding their laundry. So I think that's I'm a little behind on that compared to Marian. So, but I think that's something we're learning. Yeah, but I think that all that
And I
helps, really,
think for
all that
me,
helps.
like just to add to that, Shannon, like for me, like as a personal growth wise, right? So I think I like when I was sort of ready to take back, it's just having kids train you better to be a better leader, a better manager, be more tolerant, patient. I think some of the things that I didn't have in my younger days, I all of a sudden has sort of build a completely different skill set. Being a mom, that can sort of naturally translate to workplace as well.
It totally does. It totally does. It's I think it's like I honestly remember like telling my team once, like managing a team is like managing kids. The only thing difference is like when you throw a tantrum, I can't carry you out of a toy store. But it is essentially like kind of managing kids.
All right, I think maybe to wrap up, I have one last question. Like, any advice for the spouses?
Great question.
Fair question, Asaka.
You don't have to answer that one.
I think it's going back to that training. I think just like I think everybody needs that awareness of what to expect. Right? You have like massive book of like what to expect when you're expected, what to expect when you're expecting, as just to go through that 10 months of when you're expecting, right? But like I think the after that, like what does that mean? So I think it definitely needs. It's good to have that awareness or the communication part of it, right? And I don't know whether this advice to spouses or not, right? But the only thing is, I want to kind of say sometimes for spouses, even if this is probably a women thing, maybe I don't know. Like there's a lot going on in your head, even more than what you're doing to most of the time, right? Because you're mapped out the whole day, you're mapped out the whole week out, right? These things are just constantly working in your head. And sometimes you ask random questions. It's because you're like, you processed the whole thing about what's going to happen on next Thursday, and after the game, what's going to happen, right? So I think it's just that kind of awareness, saying that hey, there's a mental load being carried, which is you're constantly processing, and that's a huge thing. And also sort of know the nuances, because there's the houses are messy, right? Because the kids are young, toys are all the place, like there are undone dishes, and you're gonna have this life where everything get tossed around, and then it's just like just pick up whatever that is there and then put it where it belongs. I think those are the simple these things. It's like one is the women are carrying a lot more mental load. Hey, it's just a note, be aware, and then it's just picking up, I think, is the other one I would say.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been taking notes. Maybe we end
Yeah,
with yeah. Sorry.
sorry, I was just gonna say, I think it's the definitely have to agree with the mental load part of thing. But I think I want to give more of an advice to the moms versus the spouses, really, because I think sometimes I don't know if it is just like, at least for me personally, just coming from the background that I am coming from and being kind of immigrant here, and like the kind of learning from my mom, it was almost I have this mentality of that I have to do it all. And that is something that as a mom over the years I had to learn, that I don't have to do it all. It is not my job, because like my mom was a housewife and that was a very different situation. I actually, as I said, it's like we work 2 jobs and things. And a lot of us come from that background where we have to take that whole burden. we don't have to. And this is where you can lean on your spouses or your partners, like just, or your community to share that load. So I think it's my advice is more to the moms that way.
Good one.
Spot on.
Very good. Maybe we end with a fun quick fire round, right? I can go first. Slack messages or school drop-offs? What stresses you more?
Drop offs.
School message, school drop-offs.
100%.
All right.
All right. Here's the next one. Your go-to meal when you're in a meeting.
Sorry, go to?
Go-to
Meal.
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 No?
Depends on the time of the day.
That's true. That's true.
Probably, I mean, if it's a breakfast, it's just yogurt and granola. And if it's lunch, it's probably like maybe eggs, eat something easy, eggs with salad or something super easy, quick.
Yeah. Like for me, if it's breakfast, I'm just having coffee most of the time. If it is lunch, I do have some of those Trader Joe's heat and eat power bowls. So that's probably my go-to if I'm like completely, what?
Okay, I'll go next. One thing your kids think you actually do for work.
That's a hard one, actually. I'm not so sure actually what my kids think I do for work. Probably a lot of
That is
meetings.
a hard one.
Definitely a lot of meetings.
They're probably thinking I either work with a lot of numbers and data.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, look.
She's the one who gave us the suggestion for this topic.
Fantastic. This is a great suggestion.
Ria, we are doing your podcast today.
Sorry, Marian, you were saying. Yeah.
So sorry. I lost my train of thought.
Like what the kids think you do for work.
Yes. So they definitely think I'm working with numbers a lot. So I think they're thinking I'm working with numbers or data. And otherwise, I'm bossing a lot of people. One of the two things I think.
All right, let's ask Ria. Ria, what does your mom do for work?
She works to take care of us.
No, for work.
For work. That's a tough one, right?
A lot of meetings. And
That's
he
what she
looks
said.
relaxing. He looks relaxing.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye, Ria.
Hi,
Thank you.
Ria. Thank you for joining.
Maybe two more. If you had a clone, what would you delegate first to it?
Spot on. I was thinking all the housework. I think probably it's the cleaning and the washing and the cooking. Yes.
Okay, here's another one. What would you enjoy more, a tech conference or a school recital? Your choice.
Yeah, very well. Like, if I'm being honest, it's probably tech conferences.
Tech moms. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much, both Chandni and Marian, for joining us. This was a really fun episode. Lots to learn for us and for everyone listening. I hope to have you guys both on the podcast again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you on the next one.
Bye.